now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Let's bring in Arise analyst Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning, Yolanda. How are you today? Are you happy?
Very happy.
It's end of week.
Absolutely. I hope you are too.
I am excited.
Yes.
I have so many things lined up for the weekend. You can't believe it. Yeah. So I'm looking forward. Nkechi and Charles, good morning to you both.
Good morning, Dr. Constance.
How is it going?
Great, fantastic.
Nkechi, you've managed through, so.
Yes, I have. Still have lots of work to do this weekend.
Yeah, but you know, find time to get some rest. All right, to look at the papers with us today, we have Samuel Odaudu. He is the deputy editor of Blueprint newspaper. Hello there, and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day. There we have Tinubu. Sani has changed Kaduna from toxic place to state with life, progress, and peace. Excuse me. Remember that the president rescheduled his trip to Kaduna in order to visit Borno State first, given the distressing situation there. Now he's gone to Kaduna and has commended the governor, Sani, for being, quote, an agent of change, stability, love, unity, and progress. The president was uninhibited in his praise of the governor. You know, he showered a lot of commendation on him. And of course, he was also there to commission some projects. First of all, President Tinubu and the governor, Sani, have a relationship. They've known each other for a while. They were comrades from the days of the struggle for June 12. So we can understand this sort of bromance going on here. Having said that, one other way to unpack the president's disposition here is to look at Kaduna in the context of what transpired in the previous government. We know that the state was a killing field. There was so much unrest. It was bad, and relations between Christians and Muslims in that state was poorly managed. But now there seems to be a bit of difference, so one can understand why the president would take this disposition when visiting there. Samuel.
Yes, you have aptly given that summary. I think from the event of yesterday, there are rather 2 points that can be given as a summary. Number one is that one of the best ways to address marginalization is good governance, which is what is happening in Kaduna State under Governor Sani. The second point is that we are seeing an activist, a human rights activist, a pro-democracy activist, turned politician, and now a leader that is receiving this kind of commendation, meaning he is doing the things that he has been agitating for, that he agitated for in the past. And now, when you look at the president's speech, he paid a glowing tribute to the governor. Like you rightly pointed out, in the previous administration, there were a lot of criticisms against the previous government, for people who accused the government of being toxic, of promoting hate speeches, and then there were killings, and there was a lot of division along the ethnic and the religious lines. And so for the governor to have been able to bring a unity, calling every stakeholder, and then pulling people together to say, look, we need peace, without which we cannot make progress. And so this is something that should really, really be commended. And I think it is a very important lesson for others to learn, that yes, addressing issue of marginalization, especially against the people of the southern Kaduna, we are seeing that the people themselves have come out to embrace the governor, and they are embracing the government and supporting the government in many ways. And I think this is a good commendation.
There's still a bit of way to go, though. They have a Muslim ticket, so there's the governor and the deputy governor who are Muslims, and this started under that previous government. So there are still agitations for going back to a balanced ticket. We know that before that we had, Mr. Yakowa, who was governor. Well, he was deputy governor then, became governor, and then died in a plane crash. So there's a bit of improvement to be made in that state. Charles, if you want to come in here.
what I see here is a thinly veiled broadside at former Governor Nasir El-Rufai. Everything President Tinubu pointed out was like contrasting what happened under El-Rufai, who happens to be a thorn in the president's flesh now, and what is happening at the moment. Well, yes, a Muslim ticket in place, which was actually orchestrated by El-Rufai in his own political calculations. But Sani has actually handled the situation very astutely. And of course, I am very sure, given the opportunity, he might just return to that, religious balance as far as the Kaduna governorship ticket is concerned. But kudos to the governor. The religious tensions and the persistent attacks, particularly in southern Kaduna, have been contained to a very large extent. But, the president was actually very effusive in his praise, and what he was saying essentially was that this is what Nasir El-Rufai was unable to do, and Sani has actually stepped in and sorted it out very, very effectively. Yes, of course, there are definitely teething problems here and there, but yes, he has actually done pretty well.
All right. By the way, the specialist hospital commissioned by the president was named after the president. And you're like, why is everybody naming everything after President Tinubu?
I mean, if he's giving them all this praise and showering them and saying, look, I'm proud of you, they have to do something as well. I mean, if that's the prerogative of this administration and they want to name things after him, the president is going to Akwa Ibom, I think, tomorrow. So maybe we'll see something else named after him.
One good name deserves another.
It's sort of vain, but anyway, let's move on to Daily Independent newspaper. There we have FCCPC seals visa centers in Abuja for obstruction of investigation. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission sealed off France, Belgium and Italy visa center with combined efforts of the Nigerian police and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. The reason being that FCCPC says the center obstructed investigation into inquiry and complaint of consumers, which was viewed as inimical to consumer welfare. The visa center has been mandated to appear before it to testify and make depositions. Well, the center has been given a chance then to defend itself. It was also said that rather than receive that letter of complaint, the center officers assaulted FCCPC officers. And, well, I guess what we're saying here is, are we a country of laws? Is that what is happening? Samuel, if you want to come in for a second time.
You are correct. The FCCPC, they are doing their work. The line of argument there is very straightforward. Number one, the company rejecting the later official communication from the commission. That is one point, number one. And then the second point is assaulting the officials, not once, but twice, if not more. And this is contrary to the act setting up the commission. I think the action of the commission is commendable because violating the rights of consumers, and for consumers to lay such complaints, though they did not give us the details of the nature of the complaints, but responding in this way, I think it is something that needs to be commended. But it is also important to observe that the company, why should you reject an official letter from the commission if you have nothing to hide? Why are you assaulting of an agent of the government that is on a compliance operation? These are things that I know that as we progress is going to be addressed, because sealing up the premises, it means enforcement in a very strict sense of it, and I'm sure that more details are going to come out of this.
Nigerians have harrowing tales to tell about trying to get visas, and information here I need to share. According to FCCPC laws, anyone that fails to answer to summons is committing an offense and is liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or a fine not exceeding 20 million naira. Can we also say that most of the employees there are Nigerians, by the way?
Yeah.
Few of them are from those embassies, except the top officials. But yeah, we'll have to watch what are the consequences meted out there. The Guardian newspaper, excuse me, violent attacks, peacetime killings, question value of Nigerian life. This is a feature story that examines how cheap life has become in the country. Loss of faith in government, erosion of public trust, and the need for introspection. On the back of the massacre of over 200 people in Benue State, this type of article pricks the conscience. Yolanda, I want to bring you in here. It comes at the right time. It asks or raises the right questions. Will this perpetually be our new normal in this country?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. That would be very unfortunate for the future of Nigeria. But I will say this: what I am drawn to is the international attention, rather the lack of. Besides the Pope, many people have died, over 200, yet not many news channels are carrying these types of stories. We see that in Africa, even we've had situations where, people are killed, and there are wars in Africa that take hundreds of thousands of people sometimes, but we don't even get the attention that we deserve. So it's a bit disheartening to see that, yes, we're in the midst of a lot of breaking stories where there's war in other areas of the world, but I feel like this situation in Benue State really just calls not for attention but for action as well. And it's very unfortunate, just as you've said, that the government accountability has been so low on it. Yes, there have been visits to the areas, but what result has that yielded? We need to see more action, in terms of securing the people of Benue State. And as well, today we had the report of, I think, attacks in Enugu. Charles, can you confirm it was Enugu?
Yeah.
Yes.
Enugu, yeah.
But
yes,
with
Enugu.
that, we haven't seen much action with that either.
Sometimes I wonder, because I know for sure that Nigeria's intelligence services are very efficient. You can take that to the bank. I've had those interactions with them. They know what is going on, but then there seems to be a disconnect somewhere between the intelligence services and the security services. And I am trying to wonder if this is not deliberate. Some of these killings actually happen in broad daylight. The attackers come on motorcycles. I mean, they ride through these rural communities, and of course you have enough security presence in those communities. Nothing happens until they strike at night, and then it's not as if they vanish into thin air. People actually see them leaving the scene of the attack. No one has been arrested, no one has gone after them, and I know for sure that the intelligence services know who is behind these attacks, but then the connect between the intelligence services and the security services seems to be deliberately missing. So there's a big question mark somewhere.
Yeah, what is a Nigerian life worth?
Yeah.
Very big question.
I think I just wanted to say kudos to Guardian Nigeria, because they always shine the torchlight on stories like this that don't really make the front page. Just talking about the value of Nigerian lives, especially in a peacetime. We're not even in war. People that are in war, where more people are killed. Amnesty International reports over 10,000 deaths in just 2025. It's just to show how Nigerians have sort of been normalized to see deaths just casually on our smartphones and just counting numbers and numbers, but these are actually people's lives. I think it's just sad to see, and good that we're shining the torchlight on this.
Technically, we are in low intensity war.
That's right.
We have been for many years.
Yes,
it's just that we have not seen it that way. There's
I
something
mean, we're
going on.
not being bombed and having missile strikes and all that, but still we have thousands and thousands of people dying every day.
Okay, let's see a Daily Sun newspaper. About Benin receives 119 stolen artifacts from Netherlands, reveals plot to reloot them. The Oba of Benin, Wari II, received the artifacts in his palace in Benin City. He explained how some international cartel had planned to steal the artifacts again, but they failed. He went down memory lane to talk about events of 1897 that reduced that kingdom to a rubble. A moment of coming full circle right here. This return of the artifacts signifies recognition of the wrongs of colonialism, because these objects are not just museum pieces. They are carriers of people's history, people's identity, spirituality. You know, Samuel, you can jump in here. This is significant.
Highly significant, you can say that again. It is good that these artifacts have been returned to Nigeria. And one really wonders how many things have been looted out of Nigeria. Is it money? Is it asset? But in this case, we must understand something, like you rightly pointed out. The Benin culture is one of the richest in Africa, and you can and feel the pulse of the monarch while while receiving this important asset, cultural and historical values asset. So it is something that should be commended. Of course, we must understand something that he pointed out. Talking about internal cartel, it is always the case that each time you are going to have crimes in the country of this nature, you have internal collaborators, just like in the case of the security that was just discussed a moment ago. And I think this is a very good thing, and those treasures must be properly secured. And like the Oba said, he is very proud of this recovery.
And, you know, I think this also reignites the debate about European historical injustices on the continent, which in most cases in our history books, they were really beautified and it was like everything was wonderful. But this probably, or this definitely makes us begin to think and how these things have for centuries, you know, still hold us down. Of course, we talked about colonialism and then imperialism, post-colonial, and the rest of them. So we haven't moved much in a stronger direction that says that we are totally free. Anyone can jump in here with comments.
Very much agreed. I don't think we've moved forward. It's hard to comment on this because it's great that we have our heritage and our culture returned to us, but look at how long it has taken. That's number one. Yeah. And then number two, is that all? Is that sincerely it?
Because we haven't even scratched the surface.
Absolutely. In the looting of these artifacts, many people would have definitely lost their lives. And for this repatriation to be just done very silently, very quietly, and they just returned with nothing else is not something that I personally take as all positive. It also has quite a negative angle to it because it reminds you of just how much we've lost over time, over history. I spoke about the cultural repatriation and the security of our cultural heritage, but as well it talks about international relations. Right. Look at our relations with other countries. The people that return this back, this is from the Netherlands, but are they the only ones who have taken artifacts from us? You rightly brought up this question earlier on.
Yeah. I look at it from the point of view of the fact that international business has become so ruthless. So the lines of patriotism are so blurred, completely blurred. So I mean, it becomes business versus patriotism, and I tell you, business will always carry the day.
All right. New Telegraph, terrorism, ECOWAS strikes deal with Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger on security. Great here news, we think. The Economic Community of West African States says it has secured an understanding with these countries that left the bloc to work together on collectively confronting terrorism and violent extremism across the region. In addition, ECOWAS says, excuse me, there's an agreement to sustain gains already made on economic integration and social cohesion within this region. All this disclosed by the president of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Toure. Nkechi, I mean, we can always go far with diplomacy.
Definitely. When I saw this, that they've reached an understanding with Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, these are the same trio that basically slammed the door on ECOWAS and said, look, we're not doing this again. But for them to now come and say, look, we have to collaborate on fighting terrorism, this is something that all ECOWAS countries struggle with. So they have to come to the table. We don't have much details about what sort of collaboration and what sort of understanding that they've come to. But it's good to see that they're being diplomatic and they're tackling issues that all of them are facing. So whether you're being governed by a democracy or being governed by Kente or whatever, bullets, jihadists, they don't see any of that. So it's good that they have that understanding.
Yeah, definitely. On to a daily graphic, to the international headlines. 129,000 freshers apply for grant. The government's flagship non-academic fee policy for first tertiary students has recorded significant progress. With this high number of applicants, this report tells us. Onto the Citizen, another costly talk shop. The national dialogue set to start in August must tackle far-reaching issues such as a review of the Constitution, electoral reform, and new accountability measures. Almost every country in Africa battling with the similar national issues. And then onto the Times, Trump steps back from the brink of bombing Iran. His advisors were said to be worried Iran has the capacity to hit American troops in the Middle East in retaliation of America entering the conflict on behalf of Israel. We know that Iran has said it will defend itself. Now Trump believes there's a chance for negotiations. Samuel, back from the brink, at least for now, isn't it?
It is. The Iran and Israeli war is one of the modern delicate war conflict we are seeing. When you look at the lines, we must first of all understand the fact that Israel and Iran, especially right from the beginning, from 1948 War of Independence, and then you have 1967, where the 6 days war, and how Israel has been able to maintain resilience and stability of its borders up to now. We look at also the fact that since 1979, when the Shiites took over the government in Iran and established an Islamic Republic, it is one of the major foreign policies of the Iranian government is that death to Israel, the destruction of Israel. And so Israel also has this standing policy: we will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Now, for this conflict we have seen, Trump administration, remember, he was trying to meet with the Iranian officials, or the U.S. government interacted with officials and tried to meet a dialogue on if they could strike a deal to stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Now, he's going to have a larger international diplomatic row, and is going to intensify the conflict if the Trump administration steps in at this point, because we are going to see a lot in the international oil sector.
Okay.
Yes, we have about 20% of global oil passing through the waters of Iran. That can be disrupted. And we also see that even in the global religious countries, will they stand by and watch? These are very important factors that the Trump administration will also need to figure out. Like you also said, we have a lot of assets, we have a lot of targets. I mean, the U.S. has areas where Iran could also target, but whether it is going to make a clear statement for Iran's survival, it is something we cannot determine at this point. But it is a very delicate matter that with the world body and other relevant stakeholders will need to step in to make sure that this crisis is de-escalated.
Okay, I mean, when it comes to that nuclear issue, we know there's the non-nuclear proliferation treaty, and there's been pressure over the years to make sure that a lot of countries don't get nuclear weapons. At the same time, some countries say, well, when you have nuclear weapon, you become a bully to other countries in the Committee of Nations, and that's why, for instance, Russia has nuclear weapons. That's why nobody can just run in there and attack it. So it's more nuanced than, what we're saying right now. At the same time, is what it is. But let's take our final story. Assisted dying still a top story in the UK. Let's look at quickly 2 papers. Daily Express allow us the choice to have a good death, a plea from a breast cancer patient, and then the Daily Telegraph has the headline, Labour MPs turn an assisted dying bill, vote on knife edge as backbenchers switch sides and urge their colleagues to reject it. Any final words here? Just, a traumatic decision for everybody, whether you're doing a yes or a no. Charles, do you want to wrap us up before we run off?
I find the whole thing rather strange. I mean, the right to have my life taken. It's one of those rights I really can't explain. In some places it's called assisted suicide. Now, suicide is not legal. Assisted suicide, I think, is still as bad as self-inflicted suicide. So truly speaking, the whole debate around this thing is what I find really strange. I think it's cut and dry. There are ways to manage life and not necessarily through taking it.
No. On that note, Samuel Odaudu, Deputy Editor, Blueprint Newspaper, wonderful to have you this morning.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku, for joining us on Daybreak with the newspaper review. I hope you enjoy your weekend.
You too.
And that's all the time we have here on Daybreak. Thanks for watching. I am Nkechi Nana.
I'm Charles Eruka. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News.